Your thoughts?
What? What? Who?
Nice.
Out on a Friday, you wake up on a Wednesday, you know? We have a great show today. We're going to be talking all about the two Rivers Family Fishing Fair, but in a different way, and talking about the agencies that come together for this. We have Charlie, Nate, and Allison in studio. Coming up right after that, Centerstone joins us at 9:20 for a very important conversation on the first and last Wednesday of the month, where we talk about the very important topic of substance use disorder treatment and ways that we can help ourselves before the going gets tough. And then at the end of the show today, we're talking to Jen Papin. Cicada season. She had 13 wheelbarrows the last time around of mults. And apparently she had an entomologist come out from ISU or one of those universities, and most they've ever seen before. So she's going to take us through how she deals with it and make us feel better about the cicada problems that we're facing in our house. Lev joins us at 10:50. We're going to be talking about Pollinator Day, but let's get right to this Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair. How long is this? 35th annual?
35 years.
Isn't that why? I was telling Scott yesterday, I remember going to that when I was a little kid, and just how it's grown throughout the years is such a cool thing. But, you know, like you said, Allison, we don't realize all the backstory to this and all the moving pieces that are going on, you know, while we're enjoying the fishing fair. And how do we start this off? Floor is yours, Senator.
I guess we'll start off by just explaining that the Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair started as, and somebody jump in if I get anything wrong, as a partnership between the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, the Pere Marquette State Park, and then the Two Rivers National Wildlife Refuge, which is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And then eventually the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers got involved as well. We have Farm and Home is a huge partner now, too. And then over 200 partners each and every year come to make it possible. They run the stations, run the booths. It's just a really collaborative event that's actually multiple federal agencies, state agencies, and it just takes a lot to make it happen. And so as the fishing fair has grown from what the public can see, so have the entities and the partnerships grown behind the scenes to make it happen.
So to fill me in on that, so 35 years ago, were we all in our positions that we are today?
No, sir. None of us.
So when you guys joined on to your prospective staffs, I'm sure this was already an ongoing event that was planned throughout the year. And when you guys get right into it, what were some of the perspectives and some of the takeaways that you had initially just on the fair itself, but also the collaboration between those agencies?
Well, I think, I've been involved for a number of years. My first year at the Fishing Fair was 1992, so not quite 35 years.
That's pretty damn close.
Pretty close. So, yeah, I was actually working for the Army Corps of Engineers. I was a young park ranger, got hired on as a kind of a student park ranger, and they sent me up to the fishing fair and said, help man a booth. And so got to see, all the amazing things back then. Even, we talked about how it's grown, but it was still a large event, even, even and that many years ago. And so I think from, Scott Isringhausen is kind of the one guy that's been around the whole 35 years. And from what he said, there was a couple folks over at the refuge, Two Rivers National Wildlife Refuge, that got together with Scott and started talking about, hey, how can we get kids more engaged in fishing, and what can we do to encourage that, and what about a festival? And so so from the beginning, it was a partnership.
Yeah.
It wasn't one agency jumping out and necessarily trying to take the lead on it. And so it's just that partnership's continuing to grow.
That's a good point. I think that's why a lot of those events fail, because you're right. One agency kind of takes the cake for being the big, high and mighty, sponsor or provider powered by such and such. But it never lasts because there's a falling out in the relationship, and that's why this keeps growing and keeps getting healthier as years go on. And now, while we have you, Charlie, take me through Two Rivers National Wildlife Refuge, because we've talked about the locks up there a couple of times now, Allison. But Charlie, take me through some of the day-to-day that you experience up at Two Rivers.
Yeah, well, Two Rivers, for those who don't know, it's an awesome place. It's part of the National Wildlife Refuge system, so it's kind of like the national park system in a way. There's parks all across the country, managed by a federal agency, part of the Department of Interior. National Wildlife Refuges are the same way. There's about 460 National Wildlife Refuges across the country. Some are really small, like an acre or two, and then some like Alaska National Wildlife Refuge, which is millions of acres. So we're part of that system, and our purpose is to provide habitat for migratory birds. Our main focus is waterfowl, and being where we're in Calhoun County between the Mississippi and Illinois rivers, and we're mostly in the floodplain, so we've got a lot of wetland areas. And so a lot of our management objectives kind of center around those wetlands and managing wetlands to try to provide the most food that we can for migrating ducks primarily, although there's all kinds of other species that really benefit from that.
I was going to ask you, not to cut you off, but we have a pretty diverse species of birds that are in our area. Isn't that correct? Especially migratory-wise, true?
Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people don't know about. I think the Audubon Center down at Riverlands, they claim around 326 species, I think, that have moved through this area that they've recorded, and so we see a lot of those every year. Some of them are a little more rare, but and then there's definitely resident species that don't leave the area, like the turkey, for instance, but there's all these other species that fly down to Central and South America and come through here during one way or the other during their migration. So that's our purpose, is to provide habitat and a home for those birds when they're in the area for that short period. So
that's really,
and some long term. So
that's really cool. And now as we keep moving down the list, Nate, fill me in. How does how does your team come into play with this, and really just take us through your day to day too, because we've talked to Lev a few times now about some of the things that he experiences, and it seems like the team down there, especially at Pere Marquette, really doing some good stuff.
Yeah, we have a great team down there, and this is actually my first official fishing fair.
No, it's not. Okay.
I was officially transferred here in February.
Okay.
Now, this is my second fishing fair, but last year I was just TA'd down here, and I transferred from another park. But I'm from this area. My family's from Jersey County. I grew up in Greene County, but was at the fishing fair growing up. So it was such a great move for me to come back home and be around family and everything. So I got a big heart for this. And so for Scott and Randy Holbrook to do what they do behind the scenes is amazing. And with our partnership with the Corps and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, it can't be done without them. And my job, as far as the site superintendent, Pere Marquette, is our behind the scene is preparing the site for this event. The mowing, the weed eating, just getting everything, get the grounds prepared for us to set up. And then they come in and they're right there with us setting up. So
that's just it's really cool, because it seems like everyone has their own strengths to this, and everyone stays in their lane and just let's get our objectives tackled and we'll all have a good fair,
Absolutely.
And that's how it seems. And now, how do you get the ground prepared? Because to me, I'd always be the guy that's excited about this until I see a bunch of honeysuckle overtaking where we're putting this damn thing. Is that true?
Well, we have a lot of honeysuckle.
Okay.
but not anywhere near preparation for the fishing fair. So we have a great staff at Pere Marquette. I can't say enough things about the staff there and the people that work there. They are super. They're hardworking. They take pride in their job. And the fishing fair is one of the biggest highlights and greatest events that we do. So mowing and weed eating, preparing everything. And we actually, with the help of them, set everything up. We have A-frame tents. It's amazing how much stuff goes in.
Well, and no one realizes that because when you walk into it, it's really cool how it's set up because it's not overwhelming for the little ones. Because you bring a kid into Disney World, good luck, because after about 2 seconds they're overstimulated and what the hell, they're just walking around and just smiling and waving, you know. But here it's not. It's really a welcoming place where you have your stations. It's all identified, but what you don't see is how massive of an area you guys are covering with all of these.
Right.
And 30 vendors and getting everyone set up. Is there any difficulty with vendors set up at your space?
It's not, because over years and years and years of doing this, they have figured it out. And I'm going to throw Randy Holbrook under the bus here, but yesterday I come in and he has a map drawn out to where he is still rearranging people to make it work better after 35
So
years.
I love that. That's awesome.
I put on my calendar the Thursday and Friday before the fishing fair. I'm just going to work out of the park for the day because there are so many of those last minute things with Scott and Randy. And I'm trying to plug people where they go. This station needs 12 people. This station needs 4. And we're still getting groups coming in. I just forfeit those 48 hours because I know that it's going to be last minute moving things around. Yeah.
So how are you guys able to manage that too with your SABs? I'm sure that you guys are bringing in your resources too and having people man, booths and stations and all of those things. Is it just, making sure that weekend you guys know as a team, hey, we're going to have to pull some extra hours here. We're going to have maybe just 1 or 2 of you in this spot because we got to bring you down to Is that how that works?
It's an all hands on deck situation. Yeah. So we'll identify a day earlier in the week that the weather looks good, and we'll bring as many people as we can, all of us, to set up as many tents as we can. And then the day of, all of us that are on the committee have our roles to make the fishing fair run, but then we have our teams that would run booths at events like this anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have our normal, we run a water safety booth, for example, but we'll bring extra staff to help with the fish cleaning station, or someone that we know on our team knows how to clean a fish. And we try to if we have the bodies, we bring them because we can put them to work.
Well, and that's what it seems like everyone on your teams across the board is really willing to put the hat on and go into work on a Saturday and on a weekend and really just get it done. Is that the case too?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what it seems, not being funny. It seems like that truly is the case.
And everybody there, just at all 3 entities here, they love the fishing fair. It's a great thing.
No.
And it's free for every kid. And so, you wake up and it's just like, hey,
Well,
let's
and
go to work for these kids.
You complete
That's the
half
most
the
important thing.
stations. Those kids walk home with a fishing pole and all that good stuff. And it's amazing. I don't know if you guys, I was talking to Scott about this yesterday. Now are the days where you had 90% of those kids have probably never fished before.
Correct.
That's what is amazing to me because I grew up we'd go to anywhere we could, and just catch and release, and just have fun for a Saturday morning. But even for parents, that could be their first time, really fishing too. And that's kind of interesting, And now, as I'm thinking of this, how do they fill the damn tank up with all that water? Is that full before it gets here? How does that work? Because I've been mesmerized for about 2 decades now since I've been alive. That bluegill tank. Is that full of water when it gets there?
No.
How long does it
That'd
take
be
to
a
fill
tragedy
that up?
going down the road.
That's what I thought. I'm like, there's no way you can fit all these fish and drive down the highway. How long does it take to fill that sucker?
You fill those from the hydrants.
And that's about. Oh, that makes sense. There you go. Just.
But then we have the Illinois Natural History Survey and IDNR, I believe, work together to go actually catch the fish
Yes.
the day before.
Do
out
they
of the
really?
river.
That's what I always wondered is how. I always thought they were just like farm caught and they just put them in a tank. I'm not gonna lie.
They're different every year because it's whatever the team can get.
Sometimes they get them out of the river. Sometimes they go to a local farm,
Beasley's,
pond,
yeah.
or whatever, and
That's
they have their
cool.
methods of catching the fish, like they would normally do for their their scientific research. But they save a few and bring them over to the fishing fair. So, and this year we're gonna have 2 tanks. So,
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so one's just gonna be full of crappie. It sounds like, and
The IDNRs.
yeah.
There's a lot of things around here full of the fish. And going forward, I gotta ask you, how long do you guys start working ahead of the event? Is it a couple of weeks? Is it a couple of days for your respective agencies? What's it look like?
You could tackle this in a few different ways. A few weeks following the fishing fair, we have our wrap-up meeting to talk about what we want to do differently for next year. So it is sort of year-round. But I think in the fall is when Scott will really start reaching out to sponsors, and we like to send out the volunteer email late fall usually to remind people what the date is and to get groups involved, and then we're sending out flyers all spring to the schools. So it ramps up these last few months, but there are checkpoints throughout the year.
Well, and that's what I think's really cool too. Is it's a well-oiled machine. And you know what's funny is I've done events and all that and doing the show for 2 years and then being in media for 6. No one realizes how hard it is to really pull those off. Because if you guys take one day off and slip up in the process and maybe don't do 1 or 2 meetings, or Scott doesn't call until November or December, then you got a couple thousand people wondering why the fair isn't the same as it was last year. Because there's a lot of people that go to this. How do you guys manage the traffic? That's what I really wanted to know too, because there's a lot of cars and everything else that's over there at Pere Marquette.
Right, and so, well, we have the great help of the Jersey County Sheriff's Department, Illinois State Police, our Illinois DNR Conservation. They are there to protect everyone, and they are there to regulate the traffic. And hopefully, Mother Nature will work with us, and we can park in the marina area like we did last year, because it was dry and we were able to get all the vehicles down in there. If not, we'll go to Plan B. And we'll talk about that this afternoon at our next fishing fair meeting. And but hopefully the weather cooperates, and the river's up now, but in our little grassy marina area, it's drying out. So I'm hoping to get the vehicles down there.
What we've had to do in the past when we've not been able to park across the street. So what Nate's talking about is you park across the street, and then we have people stopping traffic to let people cross. But when we've not been able to park there, what we've had to do is just find various places down the road where we can park X number of cars, and then what we do is we have to shuttle them back and forth, and it's a pretty intensive process.
Oh, I could only imagine.
Yeah.
It really could. And, you know, as we keep talking here, and I really appreciate you maneuvering very quickly on 2 different... Did she tell you I moved the time and, you know, had to change the topic up because... Well, there was, you know, I was out in Vegas, and, you know, I didn't think about what was happening. But all I know is it's really cool to see behind the scenes how it really, you know, gets established. And, you know, Charlie, before I let you go, too, what or can some folks down here, you know, learn more about Two Rivers? What can we come up and see you and really just go up and see what you guys are all about, too?
Yeah. I mean, we have like I said, a great place. You know, it's an awesome. If you haven't been across the ferry at Brussels, it's a free ferry ride, and a lot of people like that. You know, and stop by the refuge. There's a lot of wildlife to see. Pretty much 12 months out of the year. Great place to go. We have a little visitor center, a real nice deck, and some trails. So it's kind of a hidden gem, so to speak. I mean, it's off the beaten path, but you know, the people that come there love it, and we get a lot of regulars that come, you know, in and out and are there all the time. So again, the fishing fair is just, you know, one of our favorite events, and we have staff that even come from other refuges for the event.
Cool.
We've got a law enforcement guy that has a canine that's coming from a refuge over in Missouri this year, and then up on the Illinois River at Chautauqua, there's 5 people coming down to help cook and clean fish. So, but yeah, lots of cool things in the area to do.
That's really cool. Well, serious. Oh, sorry.
I got one last thing to say, because I know these folks will agree with me, is this can't be done without volunteers.
I was just about to interject.
I mean, it's 250 to 300 volunteers.
Are you
Besides our staff,
Yes.
we have that many volunteers, and I just want to give them a shout out.
Yes.
You have
So-
300 volunteers?
Yeah, so I wanted to interject too, and I came on with
I think
the
that's
fishing fair
incredible.
in 2014 when I worked for the state, and I came on as the volunteer coordinator. And when I moved over to the Corps, that volunteer coordination moved over to Randy Holbrook with IDNR, and he does such a great job. And I've kind of more taken the media stance for the fishing fair in the last few years. But I wanted to just say, we're never overflowing with volunteers. We always need more. This event will, on a good weather day, do 5,000 visitors. So if you have a Boy Scout group or a Girl Scout group or a FFA group or just you
Honor
on
Society
your own
student need
want
community
to
service.
volunteer, you just call Pere Marquette State Park and ask for Randy. He'll love that I said that.
With that being said, all of you, best of luck June the 8th. I'll be up at some point in time. I'm going to try to bring the nephews out because it's just fun to really be out there and enjoy a beautiful state park with 3 great agencies coming together and some great volunteers, some over 30 vendors, and of course you, your family, and your friends to go out for the 35th, the Big 3-5 annual Two Rivers Family Fishing Fair over at Pere Marquette State Park, June the 8th. We'll see you there. And anything else I'm forgetting about today?
No, I don't think so.
9:19's the time. We're going to be talking to Kristen with Centerstone right after this brief break as we tackle the very important topic of substance use disorder treatment and the options that are available as we continue our conversations with Centerstone.